Hello and a very warm welcome to Holmesford International Sports Centre.
Let's get going then with event 303, the women's 200-meter backstroke. This is heat 1. Let's have a look who we've got in the women's pool for heat number 1 then of the 200-meter backstroke. Lane 1 is Jess Connolly of Leeds Beckett. Lane 2, Bronte Jordan of Winchester. Lane 3, Sophie Snow of Exeter. Lane 5 is Noelle Tran of St Andrews. Lane 6, Eleanor Brown of Exeter. And in 7, representing Cambridge, we've got Winterbourne. .50 metres to go in the women's pool. Sophie Snow, 2.1 seconds ahead of Bronte Jordan of Winchester. Noelle Tran of St Andrews, 3rd in this heat so far. Just 0.06 of a second between them in entry times, between Tran and Snow. And Sophie Snow showing her quality to take the heat victory in 2:35.98. And we're ready in the women's pool for Heat 2. Lineup for Heat 2 in the women's pool. Lane 0 is Ella Poole of Durham, who has gone out very strong in the opening stages of Heat 2. Lane 1, Jessica Reich of Rob Gordon. Lane 2, Tara Box of York. Trio of Durham athletes in 3, 4 and 5. Millie Ogden, Stephanie James and Daisy Willison. Sutherland of Harriet Watt in 6. Rachel May of Glasgow in 7. Derry Linton of Arts Bournemouth in 8. And Isla Yarrow of Liverpool in lane 9. Ella Poole in 0, 1.74 seconds ahead of Tara Box. .25 metres to go in Heat 2 of the women's 200-metre backstroke. She's led from the very beginning, Ella Poole, in lane 0 for Durham. And she is very much leading them home here in Heat 2. Tara Box has been in second place throughout. And there's confirmation, 2:29.48 for Ella Poole, over 10 seconds faster than her entry time. And in the women's pool, this is Heat 3. Let's have a look at Heat 3 in the women's pool. Lane 0, Ellen Winters of Lancaster. Lane 1, Polimaru of Kiel. Lane 2, Vymans of AECC. Lane 3 is Katie Roscoe of Sheffield. Lane 4, Joanne Neal of Warwick. Then into lane 6, Gaia Panati of Reading. Lane 7, Sophia Breeze from East Anglia. Lane 8 is Jess Herbert of York. And lane 9, Liza Hill of St Andrews. Final 50 metres in the women's Heat 3, and it's Joanne Neal who's 3.2 seconds ahead of Sophia Breeze in lane 7 for East Anglia. Joanne Neal with the fastest entry time in this heat of 2 minutes 30 exactly. She's been out in front from the beginning. Sophia Breeze in lane 7 coming under some pressure in lanes 0 and 2. No doubt about the fact that Joanne Neal is going to be the victor in this heat. Let's have a look at the time. 2:29.31. She does go under 2 minutes 30. We can move into the women's pool and get started with heat number 1 of the 50-metre freestyle. So 2 swimmers in the pool for heat 1 of the women's 50-metre freestyle. Lane 3, we've got Emily Mannock of Oxford, swimming in the S9 classification. And in lane 5, we've got Laura Pilkington of Edinburgh Napier, swimming in the S6 classification. Laura Pilkington's entry time, 46.25. Emily Mannock's 50.67. So let's have a look at the clock. It's a great swim from Laura Pilkington in lane 5. Right about on her entry time, and a super swim as well from Emily Mannock of Oxford. Just a couple of seconds outside her entry time there.
In the men's pool, this is heat number 2.
We will actually get things back underway in the women's pool. This is Heat 2.
This is the men's heat number 2.
Closing stages of Heat 2 of the women's 50-metre freestyle. In lane 0, Natasha Milton of Aberdeen touching first in 30.25. In the women's pool, we'll move on to Heat 3. Confirmation on the scoreboard of the result for the women's 50-metre freestyle Heat 3. Anna McLafferty of Aberdeen, the heat victory in 29.66. In the women's pool, this is Heat 4. Final 10 metres of the women's Heat 4. It's going well in lane 6, Katie Tulloch. There's interest in lane 0 as well, but it is Katie Tulloch of Stirling that touches first, 28.91. In the women's pool, this is Heat 5. .25 to go in Heat 5 of the women's. Lane 3, Annabelle Fletcher of Plymouth Margin looks marginally ahead of the rest. Lane 7, Maisie Parsons, also her teammate of Plymouth Margin, is going better than pretty much everybody else, but certainly the Heat winner for this one in 30.04 is Annabelle Fletcher. In the women's pool, this is Heat 6. Close one in Heat 6 in the women's pool. 4 swimmers effectively in a line as they come under the flags. It's going to be very close for the Heat victory in Heat 6. It's going to lane 7, Evie Bott of Sheffield Hallam, 30.24. In the women's pool, this is Heat 7. In the women's Heat 7, lane 6, Emma Blair of Liverpool John Moores turned first, and she is motoring away, surely to take the Heat victory in Heat 7. Well, I thought she did. Her time hasn't come up yet. It has now been confirmed at 29.4 to take the Heat 7 victory for Emma Blair of Liverpool John Moores. Holly Yashek of AECC also going sub 30 in that one. In the women's pool, this is Heat 8. In Heat 8 for the women, Anna Pollock of Aberdeen touching first to take the victory there in 28.66. And just to confirm a disqualification from event 306, Heat 5, lane 3. Confirmed disqualification, event 306, Heat 5, lane 3. In the women's pool, time for Heat 9. Closing stages of Heat 9 in the women's pool. In the centre, lane 4, Zara Honeyman of Cardiff Met going very well. So too is Katie Snell of York in lane 9. It will be those two who touch first and second. Honeyman, 28.83, takes the Heat win. In the women's pool, this is Heat 10. Ward, Taylor, Knowles, Garcia, Taliber, Crompton, Alice, Evans, Wild, Lucy, Lee and Shaw in Heat 10 of the women's 50-metre freestyle. 2 or 3 swimmers turning virtually simultaneously. Lane 5, Rachel Evans of Stirling is going well. Also in lane 2, Emily Knowles of Chester. Those two just about ahead of the rest. It's going to be in lane 5, Rachel Evans of Stirling in 29.19. In the women's pool, it's Heat 11. Let's have a look in the women's pool then at Heat 11. Lane 0, Emma Evans of Southampton. She turned first and she looks as if she is going to be able to keep her advantage over everybody else unless there's a fast finish. Lane 6, Nick Thorne of Cardiff Met going well. But in lane 0, touching first in 28.77 is Emma Evans. In the women's pool, this is Heat 12. Eight swimmers in Heat 12 of the women's 50-metre freestyle. And it is almightily close between 4 of them, really. Let's have a look at the scoreboard and the wall for this one. Very close. Gemma Hansen of Sheffield, 29.36. In the women's pool, this is heat 13. Turning first in heat 13 for the women's 50-metre freestyle was lane 1, Sophie Dix of Surrey. She has got a very slender advantage over lane 2, Andre Uberviciuti of Sheffield Hallam. It's going to be close between those two. Can anybody else get in the mix? No, they can't. Sophie Dix in lane 1 for Surrey in 28.94. In the women's pool, it's heat 14. Women's heat 14, lanes 0 to 8 in use. Lane 2, Lucy Oxborough of Leeds Beckett, maybe just about in front of the rest. There's some quick finishing coming from the centre of the pool, but it is Lucy Oxborough of Leeds Beckett who holds on in 29.01. In the women's pool, this is heat 15. Heat 15 of the women's 50 free. Lane 2, Emily Ware of Newcastle just about in front. Lane 4, Harriet Finn of Sheffield Hallam is finishing quickly. First to touch will be Emily Ware of Newcastle in 28.25. In the women's pool, this is heat 16. And now time in the women's pool for Heat 16. Just about in front in Heat 16 of the women's 50 free, Francesca Pecce of Imperial. Lane 1, Hannah Stanton of Leeds Beckett going well. First to touch though, Francesca Pecce of Imperial in 28.33. In the women's pool, this is Heat 17. Fian Miller of Liverpool in lane 2, just about in front of Heat 17, and she's starting to pull away from the rest in the very closing stages. The clock will tell us that too. Fian Miller of Liverpool in lane 2 takes the Heat win in 27.78. In the women's pool, it's Heat 18. Heat 18 of the women's 50 free. Lilman of King's College just about turning first. Lane 7, Jess Bickley of Plymouth Margin is also going well over on the far side, but coming through in lane 3 to take the Heat victory. Lilman of King's College in 28.32. In the women's pool, this is Heat 19. Heat 19 of the women's 50-meter freestyle. It's very, very close, 1 and 5, maybe just about in front. McDougall and Keogh. Let's see who touches first. It is Catherine Keogh of Newcastle in 28.07. In the women's pool, it's Heat 20. Great first 25 in heat 20 from lane 0, Jenny Liu of Warwick. Lane 3, Anthea Chung of Southampton is going strongly. So too in lane 1, Rebecca Quinn. There's 3 or 4 that could touch first here. It is going to be lane 3, Anthea Chung of Southampton in 28.53. In the women's pool, it's heat 21. Lane 6, just about. Prisca Conticini of Glasgow might just be edging this one. It's going to be on the touch in heat 21. It is Conticini in 28 seconds flat to take heat 21. In the women's pool, this is heat 22. Daisy Gilder in lane 4 for Liverpool, maybe just about turning first in heat 22, but it's going to be very close. She's under some pressure in lane 5 from Emma Evans of Southampton. Those two maybe just pulling away. There's a strong finish in 0 as well. It's going to Daisy Gilder of Liverpool. Another heat that finishes in 28 seconds flat. Confirmation there that Emma Evans just 3/100ths of a second behind Gilder to take second in that heat from lane 5. In the women's pool, it's heat 23. We've been knocking on the door of the 28-second barrier in the last couple of heats here in the women's 50-metre freestyle. Are we going to break it here in heat 23? It's 3 and 5, possibly the lanes to look out for. We have 27.5 for Molly Aspinall in lane 5, representing Oxford. Next up in the women's pool, heat 24. Pair of good starts in lane 1 and 2 in the women's heat 24. Marcos of Bristol and Wright of Leeds Beckett. Those two battling it out for top spot in this heat, unless anybody's got anything left to give in the final couple of meters. It is Georgina Wright of Leeds Beckett, 27.35. In the women's pool, it's heat 25. It's a good swim in 9 from Grace Maskell of Durham. She's right in the mix. Lane 2, Alana McDonald of Stirling is starting to try and push away clear. It's going to be very close between a lot of them. It was Grace Maskell over in lane 9 for Durham that takes the heat win in 27.86. But that has been checked, and we're joint winners there with Evelyn Perrin of Birmingham. In the women's pool, it's heat 26. Strong first 25 from Whiting of Nottingham in lane 3, maybe just about in front, but lane 6 and 7 finishing fast. Neve Adcock of Bristol is interested. Let's have a look. It is lane 3, Whiting of Nottingham in 27.05 by 100th of a second. In the women's pool, it's heat 27. Heat 27, the penultimate heat of the women's 50-metre freestyle. We're getting faster and faster. 27.05, the fastest time we've seen in these heats so far. Let's have a look at the clock for this one. We have gone sub 27 seconds through Lucy Canavan of Birmingham in 26.94. In the women's pool, heat 28. Final heats, heat 28 of the women's 50-meter freestyle. No entry times under 27 seconds. We have gone sub 27 in the previous heat. What times have we got left in this final 50-meter freestyle heat? 26.68 from Molly Garrett of Manchester Met to take the heat victory from lane 6. In the women's pool, it's the 200-meter breaststroke. This is heat number 1. Three swimmers in the first heat of this 200-meter breaststroke. Gaskell French of the University of Central Lancashire in 3, Zara Fenimore of Glasgow in 4, and Jess Riach of Heriot-Watt in lane 5. In the women's heat 1, Gaskell French is the early leader. Just looking at the entry times for these three, we'll be looking to try and get somewhere near that 3-minute mark. Zara Fenimore, the fastest entry time of Glasgow in 3:02.46. She's in lane 4. Jess Riach, 3:06. Gaskell French with an entry time of 3:20, but in front at the 100-meter split by over 2.5 seconds. Final 50 metres of heat 1 in the women's 200-metre breaststroke. Fenimore is closing down on Gaskell French. That advantage is being eaten away stroke by stroke. With 25 metres, they turn in unison. Has Fenimore reserved enough? She's been chasing Gaskell French for the entirety of this first heat, and they are now side by side, stroke for stroke in lane 3 and 4. Who will touch first? It will just about be Zara Fenimore of Glasgow in 3:02.08. In the women's pool, this is Heat 2. Heat 2 of the women's 200-metre breaststroke. In lane 1, Caroline Ray of Stirling. Lane 2 is Freya Hartley of Plymouth. Lane 3, Sophia Breeze of East Anglia. In 4, Lucy Park of Bangor. In 5, Emily Pilson from Brooks Uni. In 6 is Kia De Velta from Manchester. In 7, Sophie Jones of Durham. And lane 8 is Rachel May of Glasgow. In the women's Heat 2, Sophia Breeze was 1.3 seconds ahead of Lucy Park of Bangor at the last split time. That advantage looks to have closed considerably as they come in for the next time check. It is still Breeze who leads, but this time it's only by 0.44 seconds, and those two are over 4 seconds ahead of the rest. In the women's Heat 2, Lucy Park has managed to move to the front of this one. She now has a 1.26 second advantage over Sophia Breeze. And Caroline Ray of Stirling University in lane 1 is ahead of the rest of the field in third. So Lucy Park of Bangor has sat in the slipstream of Sophia Breeze of East Anglia, but has really kicked on in the second half of this women's 200-metre breaststroke Heat 2, and she continues to pull away. Lucy Park's entry time, 2:56.78, and her time to win this heat, 2:51.82. Great swim for the heat victory for Lucy Park. In the women's pool, this is heat number 3. In lane 1, Angharad Larriman of Leeds Beckett. Lane 2, Olivia Hussey of UCL. Lane 3, Rachel Thompson from Durham. Lane 4 is Molly Renton from St Andrews. Lane 5, Lucy Hatfield of Sheffield Hallam. Lane 6, Grace Merrin of Surrey. Over to lane 8, Georgina Stokes of Durham. And in lane 9, representing Warwick, Anna Draw. In Heat 3 of the women's 200-metre breaststroke, 5 swimmers posted entry times of 2 minutes 50 seconds, so expect this one to be close. Angharad Laraman, entry time 2:52.64. She's our early leader, 1.64 seconds ahead of Thompson at the halfway stage. Laraman still leading Heat 3 in the women's pool. Just under a second ahead of Rachel Thompson of Durham with 50 metres to go. Georgina Stokes of Durham in lane 8 is third in this heat at the moment. Laraman has led at every split time so far. Is she going to be able to maintain this advantage? As I said, 2 minutes 50 seconds entry time for 5 of the swimmers in the pool. That includes Rachel Thompson of Durham, who is closing that gap stroke by stroke. Has she saved enough for a quick finish here to take the victory in Heat 3? It's going to be close, but she has indeed. Time to perfection by Rachel Thompson of Durham. She takes the heat win in 2:49.57. Next up in the women's pool, it's event 311, the 200-metre medley team event. UCL in the lead in the women's pool by about half a second. When we started the butterfly leg of this 4x50 metre medley relay. Plenty of heats of this to come, so lots of teams to see, lots of teams to support. Final 50 metres, UCL leading by almost 1.5 seconds from Bangor, 1:44.47. In the women's pool, they led from the off, and UCL have taken the victory in heat number 1 of the women's 200-metre medley team event with a time of 2:13.29. Time now in the women's pool for heat number 2. Heat 2 of the women's 200-metre medley team event. Lane 0, Northumbria. Lane 1, Glasgow, Caledonia. Lane 2, Brunel. Lane 3, Imperial 1. Lane 4 is Leicester. Lane 5, Nottingham Trent. Lane 6, Queen Mary. Lane 7 is Portsmouth. Lane 8, King's College. And Lane 9, University of Central Lancashire. The halfway split in Heat 2 of the women's 200-metre medley had Leicester ahead of Imperial 1, but it's a great butterfly leg from Imperial College 1, and they have opened up a significant advantage as we come into the freestyle leg. 2.78 seconds ahead of Leicester in the lane next to them in lane 4. Leicester coming under some pressure from Nottingham Trent just outside them in lane 5. Imperial College 1 leading Leicester, maintaining a length advantage. And they take it in 2:05.4 ahead of Leicester in second with 2:06.74. Nottingham Trent did get third, 2:08.67. Top 3 coming from the centre of the pool in heat number 2. In the women's pool, it's time for Heat 3. Here we go with Heat 3 then. In lane 0, it's Kiel. Lane 1, Edge Hill 1. Lane 2, Plymouth 1. Lane 3, Warwick 1. Lane 4, Southampton 1. Lane 5, Strathclyde 1. Lane 6, Bournemouth 1. Lane 7, Glasgow 1. Lane 8, Brooks Uni 1. And in lane 9, Liverpool, John Moores. The leaders at the halfway stage in the women's Heat 3, Glasgow 1 in lane 7. Plymouth 1 going well in lane 2. And then we're 5 teams in a row behind Plymouth 1. Glasgow 1 in lane 7, trying to extend their advantage. 50 metres to go. Let's have a look at the clock. They are 3.97 seconds ahead of Plymouth 1. Virtually 4 seconds to play with for Glasgow 1. 25 metres to go for the leaders. Plymouth 1 still in second, ahead of that line of teams that are hunting them down. Glasgow 1 are going to win this in lane 7. What will the time be? It'll be 2:02.36. And Plymouth 1, 2:05.26 for second place. Strathclyde 1 with 2:06.88. Rounding off the top 3, just 5/100ths of a second ahead of Edge Hill 1, who take 4th in that heat. In the women's pool, this is Heat 4. In Heat 4 of the women's events, in 0, we've got York 1. In 1, we've got Durham 1. In 2, Lancaster 1. Lane 3, Surrey 1. Lane 4, Manchester 1. Lane 5, Aberdeen 1. Lane 6 is Oxford. Lane 7, Leeds 1. Lane 8, Cardiff Met 1. And in lane 9, Heriot Watts. In the women's pool, it was Manchester 1 from Surrey 1 as we started this butterfly leg. It is just about still the case. Manchester 1 from Surrey 1. As we come towards the final 50 metres, the freestyle leg, just 0.29 seconds in it. And don't rule out Durham 1, who are just 1.35 seconds behind the leaders in lane 1. It's still going to come from 3 or 4 with 25 metres to go unless something drastic happens, but it is looking like Surrey 1 have opened up half a length of a lead over Manchester 1. They've been chasing them down throughout, but touching first in heat number 4, Surrey 1 in 157.99 ahead of Manchester 1 in 158.91. In the women's pool, time for the penultimate heat, heat number 5. Let's have a look at the teams for this one then. Heat 5 of the women's 200-metre medley team event. In 0, it's Reading 1. In lane 1, Plymouth Margin 1. In lane 2, Sheffield Hallam 1. Lane 3, Birmingham 1. Lane 4, Stirling 1. Lane 5, Bath. Lane 6, Swansea 1. Lane 7, Cardiff 1. Lane 8 is Bristol 1. And lane 9, St Andrews 1. Nice close race in the men's pool. Nice close race in the women's as well. Although Stirling 1 have had a sterling fly leg and have opened up a little bit of an advantage over their nearest competitors as we come into the final 50 metres. 1.4 seconds ahead of Swansea 1 in lane 6. Sandwiched between those two in lane 5. Bath have been right in the mix from the beginning as well. Those three are the top 3. Sheffield Hallam 1 going pretty well in lane 2, but coming clear in lane 4. Stirling 1 close for second in 5 and 6. Stirling 1 will take it in 154.75. Swansea 1 gets second, 156 flat. Bath round off the top 3, 156.22. The final heat of the women's 200-metre medley team event. This is heat 6. Here we go then, heat 6, lane 0 is Liverpool, lane 1, Newcastle 1, lane 2, Manchester Met 1, lane 3, East Anglia 1, lane 4, Loughborough, lane 5, Edinburgh, lane 6, Nottingham 1, lane 7, Cambridge 1, lane 8, Leeds Beckett 1, and in lane 9, Exeter. In this final heat of the women's 200-metre medley team event, Loughborough University have dominated this breaststroke leg to get themselves right at the front of this, the fastest heat on paper. They're 2.5 seconds ahead of Manchester Met in lane 2, who themselves are 0.4 of a second ahead of Nottingham 1 in lane 6. Loughborough's entry time, 1:41.47. In the women's pool, Loughborough the fastest on paper. Loughborough the fastest in the pool, 1:53.86 to take the final heat victory ahead of Nottingham 1 with 1:56.45.
Everything's okay. And then delay, there's sometimes